Hello, my name is Felicia Fulton, and I am one of the first presenters for Group 5. Our research project is based on whether or not there is an association between the Mediterranean diet and cancer. So there are multiple studies that suggest that there is in fact an existing relationship between diet and cancer. One study in particular was based in Japan, and this study used rats to study mammary cancer. The rats were divided into two groups. One group was fed a high-fat diet. The other group was fed a low-fat diet for a period of 12 weeks. So once at the conclusion of the 12 weeks, once the rats were dissected, the outcome was that mammary tumors were present in 11 of the 12 rats who were placed on a high-fat diet, while only 5 out of 12 rats on a low-fat diet had mammary tumors present. So the conclusion of the study was that there is a positive correlation between breast cancer and a high-fat diet. Some possible contributors that have been known to increase the risk of cancer include processed meats. These are meats where preservatives are added to extend the shelf life, such as nitrates. It could also mean meats that have been grilled and even smoked. Some forms of carbohydrates, which includes white pastas and breads and pastries. Some types of fatty acids and fats, which includes trans fats and saturated fats, alcoholic beverages, and a high body mass index or BMI, which is an excessive amount of body fat present based on height and weight. Some possible contributors that can decrease cancer risk include antioxidants, which are very useful in maintaining the health of our cells, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, dietary fiber, which is very a great aid in digestive health, calcium, which is great for bone and muscle health. Some forms of carbs, which are would consider them to be healthy carbs, which include vegetables and fruits, which I've already mentioned, but also it could include beans as well. Folic acid is also useful as it aids in healthy cells. The Mediterranean diet is low in saturated fats and high in antioxidants, as it mostly consists of fruits, vegetables, herbs, olive oil, and fish. However, the level of effectiveness in cancer prevention is unknown, and that is why more research is needed to study the diet and cancer relationship. The question that our research poses is whether the Mediterranean diet is associated with a lower risk of cancer. So, as I previously mentioned, the Mediterranean diet contains foods that are known to be effective in cancer prevention, yet data on this diet and cancer is very limited. We would also like to know if participants with cancer have made any changes to their diet and physical activity levels since being diagnosed.
Population for the study is cancer patients. This population was chosen due to the goal to assess the Mediterranean diet and whether it is a protective factor or a risk. The study design that we chose is a case control study. Case control studies look at those who have the disease and who don't have the disease. Case control study designs are easy to conduct. They are useful for disease processes that are lengthy. We can use it to compare foods considered as potential risk factors and protective factors for cancer, and we can use it to determine if certain dietary choices act as a predictor variable for cancer. This design will be used to study those diagnosed with cancer and whether they follow a Mediterranean diet. The sampling procedure that we will use will be a convenient sampling method. This method is used because it is easy to reach the target population. The data is accessible from doctors' offices and cancer registries. There is convenient access to the target population, and it is relatively inexpensive to do.
So when, where, and how would our data collection take place? The surveys would be administered at doctors' offices during regular business hours, so we would have a good chance of getting both our cases, which is those who have been diagnosed with cancer, and our controls, which is those who have not been diagnosed with cancer. We could also do the surveys by phone, or we could use phone calls for follow up if we needed clarification or additional data. We could also go to the participant's home and take pictures of all the food that they have within the residence. This would give us a more complete idea of what it is they're eating on a regular basis. One on one interviewing with a survey administered by a trained, qualified survey administrator would be ideal for making sure our data collection is uniform. So the types of data we're going to be collecting would be both quantitative and qualitative questions about cancer diagnosis and diet, as well as the co-founders that could affect our results, such as physical activity and nutrition comprehension. An example of the quantitative data would be about how many times per week do you consume fish? And they would be giving numerical options to choose from. The qualitative data would be to give more meaning to our results, which an example would be, do you have easy access to fresh produce from a grocery store or local farmer's market? Um, Ethical considerations. Participants will be told before taking the survey that their information is completely confidential and that their participation in the survey is completely voluntary. A disclaimer on the survey that requires a signature from the participant will say the same thing to make sure we have written consent. Each participant will be given a 3-digit number identifier so that we don't have to worry about their names being on the information. Responses will be held in laptops located in secured, undisclosed locations under surveillance that would require a sign in, sign out log for access, and we would be sure to securely dispose of the data. So any electronic data that we have would be properly disposed of with the help of IT, and any paper data that we have would be shredded and properly disposed of. So the incentive for this study would be $5. This is given to the participant to try to keep the cost of the study as low as possible while still giving them a reason to speak with us and fill out this survey.
The final slides of this presentation will focus on the benefits as well as potential disadvantages to participants in the study. Ethically, it's of utmost importance that participants benefit from this study as much as researchers benefit from them. In this study, participants will be able to learn about a new diet that could potentially help them in the long run, especially as there is not much information out there about the Mediterranean diet. Also, participants have access to a community of resources to have their questions answered, as researchers are fully trained and are very knowledgeable in the Mediterranean diet, while also building a support group with other participants in the study. Some disadvantages to participants in this study could be that if they are selected from a physician office, they may feel obligated to participate in the study. Also, there is potential for some to feel that their privacy has been breached, as they may not want others to know about their diagnosis. However, this is mitigated by the confidentiality statement provided to participants prior to the beginning of the research study. Also, allergy to some substances in the Mediterranean diet may not allow for some participants to fully participate in this research study. Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to our research presentation. I hope you all have a great summer. Thank you.